boys. 2 of the girls went home for the summer, and then me and the other girl, we'll call her Ashley. Me and Ashley. And this is what happens when you struggle with the spirit of rejection. You're not just getting rejected, you're doing a lot of rejecting. And so that's a very key point. In fact, one thing that I had to really be honest about, and a couple years ago, this would hurt me to say and believe. But now I'm like, it's true. When you're being shy and introverted, and this is for people who, if you're watching, you feel shy or introverted, and you say, like, you don't like to, like, you wait on for people to talk to you. You don't like to talk a lot. Like, you kind of, like I even got, okay, like, at first, a couple years ago, I would talk, like, okay, say with coworkers or something. I would talk and say hello to people. I was real cool with a lot of people at work. It took me a while to get there though, because I was so quiet. But I was cool with all of them, and then some days I wouldn't even say hi. I wouldn't say nothing. And it was nothing against them in the sense of I'm too good, I don't like them. It was none of that. It was just simply I felt awkward, I felt uncomfortable, so I went mute and I didn't say nothing. But did they feel rejected? Probably so. That's rejection. Because if somebody you be cool with don't talk to you, they talk to you any other day, and then they just look at you and don't say nothing. Isn't that rejection? So yeah, like for instance, I've gotten called stuck up most of my life, right? Because I was quiet and shy and I didn't talk to nobody. So people assumed that I thought I was better than them. That's why I didn't talk to them. So what they were really saying was they felt rejected by me because I didn't talk. When I didn't talk to them because I was afraid to talk to them, because I was afraid they would reject me. I was afraid that they wouldn't like me once they got talking to me, once they got to know who I am. And so I would just try to protect myself by waiting on people to approach me, because then it's more likely that they would like me, and it's less likely to get rejected by somebody who pursues you, right? You still can get rejected, but it's not as threatening as if you approach other people, right? And now this is not something that I was conscious of doing. Like, I didn't realize that this is the motivation behind what I was doing. What I used to tell myself, and I believed it, but it was a lie, but I believed the lie, because a lot of stuff that we do in response to trauma are lies we tell ourselves in order to stay in that trauma. Which I could probably do a whole different video on that. But yeah, like, a lot of this stuff is lies that we tell ourselves. A lot of the stuff we do when we're still in our trauma, when we're still bound in certain areas of our lives by the enemy, there's a lie in that space that we believe, and that's why we act and we move and we carry ourselves that way, because we have ourselves convinced that this is the reason we're doing something, but it's not. So yeah, so I thought that I was doing that stuff because I was just afraid to talk to people, because I just didn't know how to talk to people. I did not understand, and I did not realize that the truth was I was trying to avoid and stop people from rejecting me, and was requiring people to talk to me, to express interest in me. And I refused to express interest in other people so that they could not have the opportunity to reject me. But that's not the way that I thought I was doing it. I thought I was doing it in a sense of, I'm just afraid. I have no social skills. I don't know what I'm doing. And I didn't have no social skills. And I didn't know what I was doing. But that's not the whole truth. And so, yeah, that's why I was doing that. And so, when you do that kind of stuff, you're rejecting people. People are going to feel rejected. When you go to a party, you go to a gathering or an event, and you got people all around, they all talking to each other, going up to each other, and you just sitting there quiet, they're gonna feel rejected by you. You're rejecting them because you aren't showing any interest. You aren't putting yourself out there the way they put themselves out there to talk to other people. So people are gonna assume that you think you too good to put yourself out there and talk to other people, or that you're rude, or you just don't care. Now, other people understand shy people and introverted people, so they don't take offense to it because they understand that that's a part of the temperament. But even if that's your temperament, you need to challenge yourself to step outside of it, because you are in fact rejecting people when you do that, and you are in turn experiencing rejection. Because when people see somebody who doesn't want to come close to other people, it's off-putting, because God did put us here to connect with other people. So when you don't want to do that, it's off-putting. It's a red flag. And I really had to come to the understanding of this and accept it as the truth, because it is. And another thing about these temperaments, you know, they'll have you believe that that's set in stone, but it's not. Because our temperaments are the ways in which we sow to our flesh, the ways in which we live in our flesh. So shy and or introverted people choose to live in their flesh by avoiding rejection from other people. Might try to look perfect on the outside, like nothing ever bothers them. Might try to go with the flow. Don't want to rock the boat. Don't want to do any of that, because that's their way of protecting themselves against rejection from other people, because that's where they're wounded at. And since we are born in sin and shaped in iniquity, so we are shaped in iniquity. We are born in sin. So everybody has the ways in which sin everyone has the ways in which sin affects them, and has had things traumatic happen to them so that they can live into a sinful life and never reach out to God and never give their lives to God. And so for me, mine was rejection. And so when you feel rejected, you reject other people. Don't believe that you can't come out of that. If you struggle with rejection, in whichever way your rejection manifests, because not everybody's rejection manifests the same way. For instance, narcissists also struggle with rejection, but they have a "I'm gonna get you before you get me" mentality. My rejection is more so, I want to love, I want to connect, but only on my terms. only if I can scope you out long enough to decide that you're not going to reject me later. That's the truth of it. That's the truth. And God is pulling me out of it. But that's the truth. And it's really sad that I lived most of my life like that. But it was for a reason, because if I hadn't lived my life like that, then I couldn't get on this camera and I couldn't come and tell you that you play a role in your feelings of rejection and in the demise of your friendships. For those of you who struggle with rejection in friendships, where you always end up being friends with somebody who dog you out. You can't seem to get a good friend. You always got narcissistic friends, manipulative, controlling friends, using friends, friends that's jealous, talking about you, doing all of that, and you can't seem to have one good friend. And if you do got a good friend, y'all not even that close, because you won't let nobody in for real, because you won't let nobody see the real you. Because if you struggle with rejection in the way that I'm talking about, because there's other ways to struggle with it, like I said, if you struggle with it in the ways that I'm talking about, you likely people please, which means you are acting and showing yourself parts of yourself, only the parts of yourself that you think people would accept. So you're not giving anybody the full picture. You're going to be very agreeable. You're not going to want a conflict. You're not going to want to tell your real opinion on something because you don't want this person to leave you and reject you and leave you hanging, leave you alone. And if you're afraid that you'll be rejected, that means you don't know your value. Because if you knew your value, you would know that everybody gets rejected by somebody. But it's those of us that we have an extreme fear of it. Everybody stay away from me. I don't like a lot of people. I don't like to be around a lot of people. Yeah, you might be afraid that they're gonna hurt you, leave you high and dry, abandon you, reject you, make you feel worthless as a result. And so you do these things and you accept these people who are not good for you because of it. You attract people who mean you harm. If you come across somebody new at work and y'all, you know, they say hello to you, they talk to you a little bit, but they don't really try to get to know you. Y'all ain't never had no real deep conversation. Are you going to try to pursue a friendship with them? Or are you going to be like, I guess they ain't that interested, I'm going to leave them alone. Right? So the people you attract are people who push boundaries. That's the people you're going to attract when you are people pleasing and not showing your full personality, willing to bend to anybody's will in order to get them to stay in your life. They can dog you out. They can disrespect you. They can, you know, take your alcohol and go party with somebody else with it. They cannot tell you, they cannot invite you to go party for the weekend, but they can take your alcohol, right? In the story time. Because you've already shown that you just want to be accepted. They ain't even got to do nothing else to qualify except keep you around. Good enough for you. These are the things I did in my life, okay? Another behavior that manifests when you deal with rejection is perfectionism. I talked about it a little in a different video. But you will suffer from trying to be perfect. You can't mess up. You gotta look good all the time. You gotta look the part. You gotta look right all the time. You gotta present yourself a certain way all the time. You can't let nobody see you be mad. You can't let nobody see you. None of that. Nothing that makes you human or flawed. Can't let nobody see it. So guess what happens if you're somebody who doesn't express how you feel openly. You don't communicate. You don't tell nobody that they have offended you, that they've hurt you. You try to put on a mask of everything's fine, everything's good over here. I'm happy. When somebody say, how you doing? Are you okay? Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing all right. Yeah. Because you don't want to seem like you're less than. You don't want to seem like you're weak. Especially because you don't want somebody to think that you can't handle nothing, right? And then you want to please them. Well, you want to look good in front of them, like a happy person. Because for me, I've struggled with an anger problem my whole life. Probably because I felt it was tied to the rejection. That's what it's tied to. That's why I get so mad. Because every time, listen, most of the time when I flipped out, it was rooted in somebody rejected me. But anyway, so you know, I forgot what I was saying, but I'll just keep going. But yeah, so you don't want to express anything. You don't want to show somebody that you're mad and say you're upset and that you're offended. You're afraid because you're afraid that you will rock the boat and then they will leave. And then, like I said, I struggle with the anger problem. So when I was a kid, I used to get mad and stuff. And so my mom and brother labeled me like the angry person, the angry girl, the upset one. So I hated that about myself. It made me feel really guilty and shameful. And so I would try my best not to show any of my anger. around other people. Now, I still show my anger around them because they already seen it. But new people who didn't know me, who hadn't accepted me and seen me that way, and showed that they would still be around, I was not trying to show them that I get very angry. Okay, so I hid that. I hid any type of anger, right? So, like I said, I got other stories I'll tell y'all about. I will tell you, I blew up on people. Like explosion. Like, I'm talking about, who is that? Who is that in her? Because when I tell you, you won't like me when I'm angry. I'm telling you. And so, hey, it's nothing to be proud of. It's nothing to be happy about, brag about. It's not even embarrassing anymore, because, hey, I did that. I did it more than once, but it's not embarrassing anymore because I refuse to be ashamed of who I've been, especially when God has forgiven me for the sins that I've committed, especially those, not especially those, but just, yes, including those. And I just refuse to feel guilty anymore. I spent so many years feeling guilty. I'm done damning myself. So, but yeah, it was a problem. Yeah, because you're a human being, so you bottle things in, you hold stuff in, you don't say nothing. You're gonna explode eventually, sooner or later. If you struggle with anger and you try to act like you don't have anger and you try not to show nothing that you feel, best believe it's gonna come out eventually. If you are watching this and you resonated with what I said, not just a little bit, but like a lot, and you're like, you know what, you might say, I'm not shy, but I still struggle with rejection. I'm not an introvert, but I've struggled with rejection, and I've had people walk all over me and treat me bad, but I'm not shy or introvert. And I have had a pattern of people doing this to me. You need to acknowledge that you struggle with rejection, and you need to be prepared and ready to do something about it. Part of that is to force yourself to do the uncomfortable thing that you're trying to avoid doing in order to avoid rejection. So for me, I've joined another one. I've joined a Bible study group. We meet online, but we go to the same church. So even though we meet online, you talk on there. I make sure I participate and I speak and I say my opinions on things. And then we also see each other in person, and we talk in person more now because of the group. And then there is a young adults group that I recently joined that has put me in a position to be vulnerable around them. And I actually said something that I was experiencing, that I was feeling doubts about. And so it allowed me to open up around some people I don't know. And just doing stuff like that and trying to make plans to hang out with people more and stuff like that is ways that I'm practicing being more social and not saying I want some friends but then stay in the house, don't go nowhere, don't talk to nobody, don't join no groups. Like, that's crazy. And then this for me, coming online and exposing how I've been exposing myself. So instead of continuing to hide and put on a happy face and act like I got it together, and don't get me wrong, I will say that I've struggled with stuff. I will talk about it. But this is a lot more raw than I've been, and I think this is good for me because it's just nowhere to hide. And so, okay, so that's my example. So for somebody, let's say you're more extroverted and you're just really sweet and you're just really nice, and you just don't have any boundaries, and you still struggle with feelings of rejection because you're sweet and you're nice and you like people and stuff like that. But you know, maybe growing up your dad wasn't there, and so you felt rejection by that, and so you felt like you had to people please so that people wouldn't leave. But you're still extroverted, and you can make a friend, you can be cool with people, but you be friends with people and they just seem to run over you and do stuff they shouldn't do to you, and no matter how kind you are, they still mistreat you. What's some stuff that you can do besides setting boundaries, right? But let's say you and a girl, you and that same girl is supposed to hang out. You text her to say see if she's still coming, and she don't respond until like 11 p.m. Oh girl, I'm sorry, I couldn't go. So that'll be a situation where you would express that upsets you. Hey, I don't like that. I gotta talk to you. We were supposed to go to the movies and you flaked on me and you didn't respond till later. I don't like that, because I know that you saw my message. So why did you ignore me? Like, confront it. Because when you confront stuff head on, this will able you to be able to be like, you can tell about their character, and if you want to continue the friendship from there. If you saw one of my videos, I did a shorter video that I posted. I posted it on here on YouTube, and I posted it on TikTok. Like, sometimes you cut people off too quick because stuff could have been solved with a conversation. So this ties into that, because it's like, well, what if it's like you have a conversation with them so you can determine from there if the friendship is salvageable based on their response to your inquiry. So if the flaky friend says, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have flaked on you, you right, I shouldn't have done that. I do that sometimes because I be afraid to disappoint my friends, and I know it was last second, and you seem excited to go, and I hung out with my boyfriend and I just didn't know how to tell you that, so I just ignored it. But I'm sorry, it won't happen again. And then you can give them another chance to see if they do it again. And if they do it again, then it's like, okay, I don't know, because you're not even really trying for real. Your priority is your priority, and it's okay if it's not me, but I don't want to continue this connection, right? This friendship. But or they can change and they can do better, and then y'all stay friends, and now they learn something about themselves that they do that's not cool, and they realize how important it is to fix it, right? Another edition of the You're the Problem series is going to be Bad Romance Edition. And I got a few stories. Talk to y'all later.